Ready to step off the map from the most hidden alleyways to the stories nobody told you? Uncharted Alleyways begins now. Your definitive guide and travel podcast, culture, adventure, and the world as you've never heard it. Tune in, disconnect from the obvious, and come explore with us. Uncharted Alleyways, your next trip starts here.
You know, usually when we talk about traveling to a famous city, there's this expectation of conquest.
Oh, absolutely.
Like it's a military campaign or something. You get the map, you identify the targets, you know, the monuments, the museums, the famous bridges, and you just march through, checking them off one by one.
Right. Conquer or be conquered by the crowds.
Exactly. It's clean, it's efficient, but, I mean, it's also just exhausting.
Well, it's very task-oriented. We often end up treating our vacations like just another flavor of work.
Yeah.
We like things to be scheduled, to be categorized. We want to maximize our return on investment for the trip. It gives us this false sense of control over an unfamiliar environment.
But step into a city like Venice, and that whole checklist mentality completely shatters.
It has to.
Right. So today we're diving into a really cool piece of source material. It's a script from the travel series Uncharted Alleyways. Specifically, we're looking at episode 9, part 3, which explores the final day of a trip to Venice.
Yeah, and it's a brilliant piece of writing.
Yeah, it really is. And for you listening, if you're someone who wants to learn quickly without feeling totally overwhelmed by a massive travel guide, this source is a masterclass. The mission of our deep dive today is to extract the core insight of this text. We're looking at how intentionally slowing down can transform a crowded, heavily trafficked tourist destination into a deeply personal, almost timeless experience.
What's fascinating here is that the source text deliberately pivots away from the famous landmarks.
Which you wouldn't expect.
Right. We aren't going to spend our time dissecting the architecture of St. Mark's Square or, the history of the Rialto Bridge at high noon. The text purposefully guides us away from those grand monuments to focus entirely on the sensory and emotional experience of the city.
Yeah.
It's asking us to evaluate how a place makes us feel rather than just what it looks like on a postcard.
Okay, let's unpack this, because treating Venice like a checklist is, well, it's like walking on a treadmill. But this text is telling you to treat it like a hammock.
I love that analogy.
Thanks. It's like you have to physically shift your location and your posture to actually read the city properly. And the text starts this physical shift by taking us to one specific neighborhood, which is Dorsoduro.
Right. Dorsoduro offers this brilliant contrast to the frantic center of Venice.
It sounds so peaceful.
It really is. The text paints a very specific picture here. We are presented with quiet canals, small art galleries, neighborhood cafes. It explicitly notes that the atmosphere feels wonderfully residential.
Which is so rare in Venice.
Exactly. It's a sharp departure from the commercialized center.
For me, it's the specific details the writer uses. They mention mornings beginning with fresh bread arriving at local bakeries.
Oh, yeah.
University students making their way to class. You can just picture it. You stop for an espresso, the tables face the canal, and you watch boats quietly glide by.
You're just taking it in.
Right. You aren't doing anything important, quote unquote, but you feel completely immersed in it.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to look at why the text emphasizes these specific physical spaces. It's about the mechanics of how our environment alters our psychology.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So the source also takes us to the Zattere Promenade, which is this wide waterfront walkway facing the Giudecca Canal.
Right, right.
And the text makes a point to say that unlike the narrow streets of central Venice, the Zattere feels open, it's spacious. Locals are jogging, families are walking, people are just, holding coffee or gelato.
And the light, I loved that part.
Yes.
The text specifically tells you to just sit on a bench and notice the changing light dancing across the water. It points out that Venice's beauty really lies in the relationship between the city and the sea, not just, the stone buildings themselves. But wait, I'm curious about the mechanism you just mentioned.
Sure.
How does moving from a narrow alley to a wide walkway actually change our mindset?
Well, it really comes down to architectural determinism. In the narrow, crowded alleys of central Venice, the Calle they call them, your physical environment literally restricts your field of vision.
Because the walls are right there.
Exactly. You are funneled along with the crowd. And your brain subconsciously registers this as a high-stress navigation task.
Yeah.
You're constantly scanning to avoid bumping into people, which puts you in this low-grade state of urgency.
So you're basically in fight or flight mode, just trying to efficiently reach a destination without tripping over a tourist?
Precisely. But when the physical environment suddenly opens up, like stepping out onto the wide Zattere Promenade, your peripheral vision expands.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, your brain receives the signal that the navigational threat is over. Your parasympathetic nervous system engages, your breathing actually slows down, and your psychological pace is forced to match the new, relaxed physical reality of the space.
The environment literally dictates your behavior. That makes so much sense, because the architecture of these neighborhoods forces us to decompress. Our aperture finally opens up. We stop looking for the grand monument, and we suddenly have the mental bandwidth to notice those micro interactions of everyday Venetian life.
Right.
Which takes us right into our next point, the art of the everyday.
And the source does a brilliant job here of highlighting the beauty of lived Venice over curated Venice. It points us toward two specific locations to illustrate this.
Okay.
The first is the Peggy Guggenheim Collection.
Right, which is housed in a historic palace right on the Grand Canal.
Yes, but notice how the text describes it. It calls it an intimate setting for 20th century art, featuring a very quiet sculpture garden.
It's not a massive, overwhelming institution.
No, not at all. Not like the Vatican museums or the Uffizi in Florence, where you feel pressured to see 10,000 masterpieces before lunch.
You just run through checking off the famous ones.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And the second location the text highlights is Campo Santa Margherita. It describes this public square as unmistakably local. It says it isn't polished for tourists. It's simply lived. Children are playing, market vendors are setting up small stalls, the cafes fill up gradually as the morning progresses.
Here's where it gets really interesting. And I have to play devil's advocate for a second.
Yeah.
For you, the listener.
Go for it.
If you are someone who values efficiency and making the most of your limited vacation days, this sounds almost, well, frustrating.
I can see that.
Right. Because if the text is telling me that nothing extraordinary happens at this local square,
Yeah.
and people are just drinking coffee while kids play, why on earth would I travel thousands of miles and spend thousands of dollars to do that? Couldn't I just go to my local coffee shop downtown?
It's the ultimate hurdle for the modern, efficiency-driven traveler.
Yeah.
We are so conditioned to measure the success of a day by our output. But the answer lies in the text's assertion that, and I'm quoting here, sometimes travel is most rewarding when nothing extraordinary happens. The value isn't in the action itself. Drinking a cup of coffee is biologically the same action anywhere in the world.
Sure.
The value is entirely in the context.
I think I see where you're going with this. It's almost like we're addicted to the dopamine hit of ticking off a box.
We absolutely are.
We think if we aren't, quote-unquote, doing something monumental, the trip is a waste of time. But turning off that out-of-office brain is incredibly difficult.
It's remarkably difficult. Because think about it, we even try to schedule our downtime. We get ourselves a 30-minute calendar block to, quote, relax.
Oh, man, I do that.
Right. But when you sit in Campo Santa Margherita and watch the neighborhood go about its day, you are observing a culture that fundamentally prioritizes presence over productivity.
Wow.
You are immersing yourself in a societal rhythm where a coffee break doesn't end because a timer went off. It ends when the conversation naturally lulls.
So you aren't traveling to drink the coffee.
Yes.
You are traveling to witness a community that defines a successful afternoon by the quality of the conversation shared over a pastry, not how many tasks were completed.
Exactly. You are traveling to learn how to sit still. You are learning a new way to exist in time.
But witnessing that authentic culture requires you to actually get to these quiet squares and assimilate into that rhythm.
Yes.
You can't just parachute in and expect the city to bend to your modern habits. And this text makes it very clear that Venice is a place with rules, both written and unwritten. And mastering the mechanics of the city is the only way to experience it properly.
And it starts with sustenance. The source notes that in Italian dining, meals aren't rushed. Conversation matters.
The time spent together is the main event.
Right, not just the rapid consumption of calories.
And the imagery the writer uses here is just fantastic. It paints this picture of choosing a small neighborhood restaurant for your final dinner. You've got marinated vegetables, fresh seafood, handmade pasta with seasonal ingredients, rich espresso.
It makes you hungry just reading it.
It really does. But the key takeaway the text gives us is that while the specific dishes might change based on the season, The hospitality rarely does.
That's a great point.
The most memorable meals aren't the most expensive ones with the white tablecloths. They're the ones where you're treated like a friend, where the waiter actually wants you to linger.
And that hospitality is a direct reflection of the slower pace of life we were just analyzing.
Exactly.
But accessing those hidden, welcoming places requires physical effort and the right preparation. The source reminds us that Venice is incredibly walkable, but it demands comfortable shoes. Because you will spend far more time walking than you expect, crossing dozens of bridges just to get across a single neighborhood.
Oh yeah, it also gives some highly specific practical advice on that note.
Mm-hmm.
It tells you to bring reusable water bottles to fill up at the public fountains scattered around the city.
Yeah.
Which is such a smart detail. And downloading offline maps, because the narrow winding streets will absolutely confuse your phone's GPS, and you are going to get lost.
Oh, you will definitely get lost. Getting lost is part of the Venetian experience, but you do eventually need to find your way back to your hotel. And speaking of the physical realities of the city, the text explicitly warns against traveling heavy. It notes that rolling large suitcases over stone bridges quickly becomes tiring.
Tiring is an understatement. Dragging a massive, hard-shell rolling suitcase over ancient stone bridges is like trying to drive a sports car in a library.
Yes.
It's just a completely wrong tool for the environment. I mean, think about the physics of it. The loud, clattering plastic wheels echoing through a silent residential neighborhood at 6 in the morning. The physical exhaustion of lifting 50 pounds over every single set of stairs.
It's a nightmare.
It's clumsy, and it totally disrupts the peace of the space you came to enjoy in the first place.
And this raises an important question about the ethics of travel, which the source addresses head-on.
Yeah, let's get into that.
The text mentions the intense challenges of crowds at major hubs like St. Mark's and Rialto, and the opportunistic thieves that those busy, distracted locations inevitably attract. But more importantly, it asks the reader for mindfulness.
Yeah, it explicitly asks visitors to avoid blocking narrow walkways while taking photographs. Because if you stop dead in the middle of a tight alley to take a selfie, you're literally halting the circulatory system of the city.
Right.
It also emphasizes keeping noise levels down in residential neighborhoods.
Because, as the text beautifully states, people call these beautiful streets home.
Wow.
Mindful travel is about recognizing that your vacation destination is someone else's daily reality. There is a real friction between the modern convenience mindset and the medieval infrastructure.
Absolutely.
Leaving a place as respectfully as we found it isn't just a polite suggestion in this text. It is presented as the ultimate mark of a sophisticated traveler. It's the critical difference between consuming a destination and experiencing it.
I really want to highlight that. Consuming a destination versus experiencing it.
Yeah.
When you consume it, you're just extracting photos and souvenirs while leaving behind noise and disruption. But when you experience it, you're adapting yourself to its flow. And the source implies that once you have mastered these mechanics, once you've ditched the heavy suitcase, put away the rigid schedule, stop blocking the bridges, and learn to respect the city's boundaries, Venice rewards you with its greatest, most elusive treasure.
The local secret.
The local secret. I love this part. The text shares this one specific final experience before leaving Venice. It says to wake up before sunrise and walk toward the Rialto Bridge while the city is still quiet.
And the imagery the source uses here is incredibly evocative. You pass bakers preparing fresh bread for the morning rush.
Yeah.
Delivery boats gently moving through empty canals, bringing supplies for the day. Street cleaners beginning their morning routines.
And by the time you reach the bridge, there are only a handful of early risers.
So peaceful.
The Grand Canal is reflecting the soft morning light. The water is perfectly calm because the heavy boat traffic hasn't started churning it up yet, and the buildings are just glowing. The text says that without the crowds, Venice feels almost suspended in time.
It calls it the true magic of travel, a magic that belongs exclusively to those willing to wake up a little earlier than everyone else.
So what does this all mean? I mean, why does simply removing the crowds and waking up early make a city feel suspended in time?
Well,
Because, what is actually happening to our perception in that moment? The buildings are the exact same ones you'd see at noon.
right. It's about removing the barrier of modernity.
Okay.
When you stand on the Rialto at noon, surrounded by thousands of tourists holding smartphones, wearing modern clothing, and the water is just churning with diesel engines from the Vaporettos, you are firmly rooted in the present day.
Right. Your brain processes the scene as a modern event happening around an old structure.
Exactly. The modern context completely overrides the historical architecture.
Wow, yeah.
But when you strip away the modern noise, the crowds, and the commerce of tourism at 5:30 in the morning, the physical infrastructure of Venice's is completely unobstructed.
You are suddenly experiencing the city exactly as a merchant, an artist, or an explorer would have centuries ago.
Yes. The light hits the water the same way. The stones sound the same under your boots. By waking up early, you are aligning your sensory experience with the past. You step out of the timeline of a tourist and into the timeline of the city itself.
Stepping out of the timeline of a tourist and into the timeline of the city, that completely reframes what it means to visit a historical place.
It really does.
And that perfectly sets up the closing reflections of the text, where the series host recaps the grand lessons of all the cities they visited on this whole journey.
Yeah, this part was a great synthesis.
The text says Athens taught them that ideas can shape the future. Rome invited them to walk through the pages of history. Petra demonstrated what human determination and imagination can create out of bare rock. And Florence celebrated the pinnacle of craftsmanship and beauty.
But the lesson of Venice is entirely distinct from all of those. The text states that Venice reminds us that not every road is made of stone. Sometimes, the journey follows the water.
It points out that the city has spent centuries adapting to the sea, rather than fighting against it. It teaches patience.
It really does.
It teaches us to slow down, to put away our tightly packed schedules, to wander down an alley without worrying where the next turn leads. Because in a place like this, the best journeys are the ones where curiosity becomes your compass.
It's a profound conclusion for the episode, and the source doesn't stop there. It actually uses this momentum to tease the next destination in the travel series, maintaining that continuous thread of curiosity.
Oh, right. The text mentions that next time, the show is heading south to Naples.
A total change of pace.
Seriously. It promises lively streets filled with the aroma of fresh pizza, the looming shadow of Mount Vesuvius, the busy waterfront, the stunning Amalfi Coast, and the ancient, frozen-in-time city of Pompeii. It sounds like a complete shift in energy from the quiet, slow-paced canals of Venice.
Which perfectly illustrates the overarching philosophy of the source material. Every destination has its own language and its own rhythm.
Right.
You can't force the chaotic, vibrant rhythm of Naples onto the quiet reflection of Venice, just like you can't force the high-speed rhythm of your daily life onto your travels.
We have covered so much ground today.
Yeah.
I mean, we started by ditching the military campaign checklist mentality and physically moving away from the chaotic center to the quiet residential corners of Dorsoduro
And the Zattere?
and the wide expanse of the Zattere, where the architecture actually helps our nervous system decompress. We explored why watching kids play in a local square is a masterclass in prioritizing presence over productivity.
Such an important lesson.
We tackled the practical mechanics of the city, why heavy luggage and rigid schedules clash with a city built on water, the importance of reusable water bottles, and of course the absolute necessity of comfortable shoes.
Can't forget the shoes.
Right. And finally, we uncovered that magical pre-dawn secret at the Rialto Bridge, where removing the modern crowds allows you to step directly into the city's historical timeline.
It really is a comprehensive guide, not just to navigating a specific Italian city, but to adopting an entirely new state of mind.
And as we wrap up, I want to leave you, our listener, with something to mull over. We've spent this time talking about applying this adaptable mindset to travel, but
Let's take the core theme of this source material and apply it closer to home.
yeah,
The text notes that Venice spent centuries adapting to the sea rather than fighting against it. Think about that in the context of your own life.
okay.
We spend so much energy trying to aggressively schedule, control, and pave over our daily challenges with stone. We want rigid paths. We want predictable outcomes. We want to force our environment to match our checklist.
Which really works out.
Right. So what would happen if, starting tomorrow, you applied the Venetian mindset? What if you stopped fighting the tide of your daily disruptions and simply learned to adapt to the water?
Instead of treating your day or your vacation like a military campaign of conquest, maybe it's time to put away the map, follow the water, and see where curiosity takes you. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. Stay curious, and we'll catch you next time.